Now, what happens if the discriminant is negative? Let's try it. What's my discriminant? B squared minus 4ac is 9 minus 16. Well, that is negative 7. Negative 7, so it is negative. If the discriminant is negative, well, it's not a perfect square, but the technique is going to be the same. I'm going to complete the square. Let me show you. 4x squared, completing the square, non-monic, take the 4 out first. 3/4 x plus 1/4. First, take out the 4. Now, x squared minus 3/4 x, leave a space, plus 1/4. Write the quarter straight away so that you don't forget about it later. In the space, complete the square. I need, always add, half of this. That's 3 on 8 squared. But if I'm adding 3 on 8 squared, I better subtract 3 on 8 squared. Okay, so this part is a perfect square. X minus 3 on 8 all squared. This is 9 on 64 plus 1/4. Now, I'm going to have to do 64ths. So let's do that in one go. 1 over 4. What do I times 4 by to get 64? I times it by 16. Would it help if I wrote that? Just so you can see. Times by 16. So I have to do the same with the top. Times by 16. All right. 4 x minus 3 on 8 squared. Now careful, minus 9 plus 16 is going to be positive 7. And here's the challenge. How do I do the sum of squares? Well, with complex numbers, that's easy. It's the difference of squares if you had an I here instead. Let me write it for you with the I so you can see. 4 x minus 3 on 8 squared minus 7i squared on 64. Squared on 64. Now can you see a difference of squares? So we're going to factorise using that rule. By the way, you can go directly from this line to the line I'm about to write. You don't have to write this. I just wanted to write it so you could see the I squared. But you can go directly from this to this once you know what you're doing. I'll leave these brackets in this time. X minus 3/8 plus root 7 I on 8. X minus 3 on 8, that hasn't changed. This sign does. Minus root 7 I on 8. 8, because it's the square root of 64. Square root of 7 and I. Now normally we will write these as both over the 8. So we'll go 4 times x. It is actually easy because the next thing I probably want to do is use this as a solve, where this would be 0 equals. So it's easiest if you can to write the minus. What am I subtracting here? 3, change the sign, minus root 7i, all on 8. And x minus, what am I subtracting? Change the sign, both plus. 3 plus root 7i all over 8. It is important you are careful to make sure your I is clearly outside your square root. That is important. However, in this case, it is also important that it stays over the fraction line. If you tend to write your square root lines too long, put the I in front and write x minus 3 minus I root 7 on 8, x minus 3 plus I root 7 on 8. And here you can clearly see conjugate solutions.